Hello everybody, my name is Pravus, and welcome to a new Democracy 3 series! Yay! What is this, my 8th or 9th series at this point? I don't know, I lose track. Either way, I wasn't really planning on coming back to Democracy 3 anytime soon, if ever again, simply because at this point I feel like we've kind of tapped out the game, we've tried out everything that we care to try. But I have always thought that a modded series could be pretty fun, I just didn't know where to start. Well, thankfully, one of my viewers drew my attention to a collection of mods written by a single author, and that collection is called the Presidential Suite. And holy freaking crap, does it add a lot of content into the game and rebalances a lot of things and makes it, frankly, in my opinion, more realistic and more challenging and therefore more fun. I like it a lot, but let's take a look at some of the mods. We have the Biotech mod, Crime and Punishment, Democratic Decay, Earth Transit, Farmer Protests, Industrial Evolution, Migration, Poverty, Sports, Superpowers, Fiscal Policy, and Voting Age. And all of these mods are created by Gik. I don't know if there's supposed to be a different way that you pronounce that, but there you go. And you can kind of get some sense as to what each of these mods will do just based on the name, but the exact implications I'll try to show you in this series. So looking at all of that, having tried it for a little bit on my own, I'm thinking, holy crap, yes, please, we have to do a series on this and show some of this new content because it is downright impressive, in my opinion, and adds a lot of depth into the game. I'm serious, I'm still learning a lot about this mod pack. It's geeking me out a little bit because I'm so excited. So right off the bat, you can see that we have a bunch of new countries that have been added into the game. We have Argentina, China, Iceland, India, Mexico, the Netherlands, Russian Federation, Spain, Sweden, and we've rebalanced a version of the UK and the USA for the Superpower mod and the Democratic Decay mod as well. Now, you already know from the thumbnail that I've decided to go with Sweden because, why not? I like Sweden. Let's do Sweden. Sweden sounds fun. So we're going to play as Sweden today. Sweden, monarchy, European Union member that opted out of the Euro. And it does give you some kind of rough idea as to what some of the challenges will be for Sweden. For example, we know in 2015 there was a migrant crisis, some terrorist threats that challenged their open-door immigration policy, their military, labor laws, and there's also debate as to whether the welfare state is strengthened or eroded by a patchwork of tax credits and the healthcare and school vouchers. So basically, we don't really know what to, basically Sweden's at a crossroads right now. There's kind of a mixed match of capitalist and socialist policies right now, which may be conflicting with each other, and we have to decide on a unified vision for Sweden. That's one thing I am looking forward to trying. Also, interesting thing here, rate of recycling, 99%. Is that actually true? Because holy crap, that's actually downright impressive. But alright, let's go for it. So as far as naming the parties, so when I think of Sweden, there's only a few things that I actually know about Sweden, unfortunately. You'll have to pardon my ignorance here. But I do think of things like, you know, the Swedish Chef and IKEA and Swedish meatballs and Swedish fish. Basically all of the corporate things about Sweden is pretty much what I'm familiar with as an American. So I've decided to go ahead and go for the Corporate Coalition as our party name. Hope people won't get too mad about that. The only other thing that I really think of when I think of Sweden is PewDiePie. So our opponents will be called the Disciples of Felix. There we go. Why not? I think that sounds pretty fun. Corporate Coalition versus the Disciples of Felix. So, term length by default is 4 years. Term limit will have no limit. We do have a monarchy. And I'm actually going to do something a little controversial and reduce the difficulty a fair bit here to 60% instead of 100%. I know. In the past, I did a max difficulty campaign. However, I cannot personally attest to the balance of the mod pack. I haven't experienced it enough yet to say for sure. But I also know that I want to have some leeway to really experience a lot of the content. And if I make some mistakes, I want to be able to recover from those. But mistakes are good. Mistakes are great in this series right now because I want to see some of those negative events. I want to see how the balance has changed. But I want to be able to get out of it and move on kind of casually through the game. So it's not about a challenge. It's about exploring someone else's awesome contribution to this game. So please forgive me for doing 60% difficulty. I just want to explore. That's all I want to do. So let's go ahead and start up our game. Of course, I spent 5 minutes just talking and introducing you to the game, but oh well. Congratulations on your election victory. We are the Prime Minister with less than 10 million citizens. Really? Is the population of Sweden that low? My gosh, I didn't realize that. That's actually really small. I guess it makes sense, but still, okay. So you look at this and you actually think Sweden's not doing too bad. We got pretty decent GDP, health, education, crime's okay, unemployment's down, poverty's eradicated. I mean, all in all, not too bad. And then you see all the negative events and stuff that are going on. And, wow, there's a lot of new stuff, and I can't go over every single one of these, unfortunately. It's going to take too long. I've already tried to record this episode, and I spent 30 minutes just talking about the events. So obviously I can't do that. I'm going to have to do a little bit of a highlights reel, and we will tackle them as we go. First thing you need to know, some of the old events are still here. We have our alcohol abuse, we have antisocial behavior, obesity, asthma, doctor strike, etc. We also have some new stuff, such as road accidents, because our roads are currently not safe for a variety of reasons. We have dementia, as people are getting too old and their physical and mental exercise is kind of falling apart. We have tooth decay from terrible dental care. We have a teacher shortage because teachers are not being paid enough and not enough teachers actually are in the schools. So there's a pretty severe impact on our education right there. We also have an emerging black market because of too many taxes. So many people are trying to dodge the taxes, that they've created a black market, which, believe it or not, is actually reducing poverty by existing. Now that's something that I just want to highlight right here, is something really cool about this mod pack. It's incredibly well thought out. It's not so simple as, oh, black markets, those are always bad, hiss, you know, it's not like that. It's saying, well, why does a black market start? Well, because it actually is cheaper for people to use a black market and go behind the government's back because the prices are too high. And because you're finding an avenue of getting goods and services for cheaper, as a result, your cost of living goes down, so poverty goes down. There's actually kind of a benefit to having this black market for the standard person's quality of life. However, it's costing us about 14 billion, I actually don't remember what the currency is. Is it Kronos? I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's something like that, Swedish Kronos. Obviously, I'd like to get rid of it. I'd like to save that money. I'd like to improve the standard of living regardless. But this gives you a pretty interesting idea how this works. It's not so cut and dry, is what I'm trying to say, and that is awesome, in my opinion. We also have sexism, because not enough women have access to careers in the same way that men do, which debatably in a free society is a good thing, as women make their choices whether or not they want to be at home or whether they want to work. As long as they have the choice, that's freedom. But some people look at that and say, well, yes, but women have other certain disadvantages in the workplace that we have to account for. And the way you combat sexism in this game is to try and give women as many benefits as possible to kind of level that playing field so they're able to approach a career the same way that a man can, basically. Little hard to do, but that's sort of the goal. As a result, though, by even having a sexist society, we are reducing liberalism, membership, education, youth opinion, and so on. We have air pollution as something new. We have a rust belt, as we've transferred over to a service sector economy, so people in the manufacturing industries are getting left behind. That's pretty cool. And we also have a labor shortage. Now, this is something that I think is fascinating, and we're going to talk about this for a minute. Labor shortages. In the base game of Democracy 3, you always wanted to reduce poverty, unemployment, and so on. You wanted to get that down to a minimum. Max the GDP, health, and education, reduce your poverty, crime, and unemployment down to zero. And you think, oh good, I win, right? Here's the thing. In the real world, reducing unemployment down to zero sounds really good, but it does come with some new challenges. Namely, everyone has a job, there are more job openings than there are people to work said jobs. That creates a drag on the economy, a labor shortage. That's exactly how it would work in the real world. Yet we don't think about that in the base game of Democracy 3, but this mod pack adds that in. Now you can try to have a healthy amount of unemployment of just a few percentage points and try to solve this problem that way, or if we can't do that, you can try to relax your immigration laws and start immigrating more people into the country to fill those jobs. You have a reason to increase your immigration now. That's so dang cool! And on top of this, every single event that we have, there are ways to combat it, new things that have been added into the game, things that have been rebalanced that would make sense. For example, changing our immigration laws in and of itself will try to deal with the labor shortage, but there are some new policies we could pass that would try to change our immigration status as well. For example, immigrant language courses and stuff like that. Pretty cool. We also have a handful of new events, such as private security, because crime is already... Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know exactly what drives this. Is it low crime or high crime that drives this? I would imagine high, but even so, we have private security currently going on, which is reducing crime. So the market, the free market, in and of itself is finding ways to try and tackle the higher crime. We have our computer industry. Sorry, I thought this was technological advantage, but no, it's not. Computer industry is an entire industry that we can look at and see what its effects are on the economy. We have a process industry, which has a lot to do with our extraction and refining of materials. And we have the financial sector, 3 different economies, industries, sectors of the economy that we want to pay attention to, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, local government, decentralization of our government. Its exact effects I'm not entirely clear on yet, but this is pretty awesome in theory to even add this into the game in the first place. So much cool stuff, and I can't possibly go into every single new policy right now. I know I've spent the last 10 minutes just introducing you to the mod pack. Now we need to play it a bit. But oh my god, you can already get some sense of the scale. There's so much stuff that's been added. High bracket income taxes, an earned income tax credit. I mean, holy crap. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get into some of this right now. We're going to start off with some of the classic opening moves, kind of go a little bit faster. For example, I'm going to go ahead and max out our police force right now. It's going to cost us another 4 billion kronas. Right off the bat, reduce our antisocial behavior, alcohol abuse, and road accidents. By patrolling the roads with more policing, we can try to make the roads a safer place and less people die as a result. So that's certainly something that we're going to do. We're also going to go ahead and move toward, let's say, community policing. I think that already exists, but I want to max it out. There it is. Let's go ahead and max that out, reduce our alcohol abuse, and this boosts the local government in and of itself. That's pretty cool. It also boosts up our liberalism membership. I guess I haven't talked about what I actually plan on doing right here. I'm going to try to turn Sweden into a liberal capitalist society. You guys know that that's one of my personal favorites. It's also kind of most aligns with my own personal views. I think that this could work out pretty well for Sweden here. We're going to try that one out. But while I am going to rely heavily on state policies to try and solve some of these events, at least initially, I am going to gradually try to phase out government programs and simplify the tax code and the government welfare programs and so on, and see how that works out. I want to move toward a more libertarian-ish style of play. Obviously, you can't go full libertarian in this game. It's not possible. You have to play as a statist. But I am curious to see how close we can get realistically and still do the job. That's going to be kind of the goal. So let's go ahead and do all of that with the community policing boosting up our liberalism membership. We also have a surplus, by the way. We start off with a pretty nice surplus. I don't know how much of that is due to the fact that we're on a lower difficulty, or how much that has to do with the fact that we have so many freaking taxes. I don't know. But either way, it seems to be kind of working. We are going to have to restrict alcohol at least for a little while, and this makes me sad because I hate to do this, but we're going to have to. Alcohol consumption in and of itself right now is just way too high. I'm not going to be able to reduce this just with the police forcing and the community policing. So, if I were to try and max this out, as I already did, apparently, I actually already did that. Okay, strong restrictions, basically, we're going to have very strict alcohol laws. We're going to reduce the alcohol consumption, try to get the alcohol abuse under wraps, and then probably next year, we'll relax it right back to where it was before after we have crossed below the stop trigger. At least that's going to be my idea. I don't want to keep it that way for very long. I also want to start tackling some of these new events, such as the road accidents. Now, the problem here is, well, people are just unsafe. Maybe that's due to infrastructure, maybe it's due to DUIs, maybe it's due to poor policing, I don't know. There's a few things that we can do. We can reduce car usage and traffic congestion, just have people not driving as much and we'll be fine. Reduce alcohol consumption, we're already working on that. Better policing, bus lanes, or street lighting. Now that's something new, a whole new infrastructure project to try and make the roads safer. Let's take a look at that now. Is it under, yep, transport, there it is. Hello, street lighting. The government usually provides lighting of streets, highways, and public areas to make them safer from accidents and crime. Lighting is, however, costly and drains the power supply, so when the government needs to scrimp, street lighting is usually among the first expenses to be cut, and environmentalists don't like it because excessive lighting disturbs the natural environment. It's going to cost us about 2.78 billion kronas to start us off, but pretty cheap as far as an introduction cost. Let's see what it does. So motorists are very happy about this because they can see what they're doing. Farmers also apparently like this because depending on how much of the nation you are applying this infrastructure, the farmers will get to benefit. You know, it's not just the cities, the rural areas also will get lighting. So farmers, there's a scaling modifier here, which actually makes sense based on the description. I like that a lot. Environmentalists don't like it. Energy efficiency goes down because we're just using up a ton of energy on lighting. Violent crime does go down though because there's less darkness. Antisocial behavior goes down, and road accidents goes down. I'm probably going to do something simple like, I don't know, let's say, actually let's leave it kind of close to the middle here. Let's just say all city streets. All city streets will have lighting at the very minimum. I don't want to ruin our energy efficiency, and I don't want to upset the environmentalists too much. But this alone will reduce antisocial behavior by 10.5% and road accidents by a further 11.8% as well. So that could go a long way to try and fix that. More infrastructure, telecommuting, and stuff like that to reduce traffic would also help, but we'll deal with that later. Let's move on into the next turn and see what we have. Underground nightclubs. These are some new events that have also been added in the mod pack. People want to go to underground nightclubs to consume alcohol and drugs illegally. Conservatives want these clubs closed down. That would, however, anger many young people. We can send in the police because, well, they're breaking the law, or let the parties go on and consider reforming our alcohol and drug policies instead. The police have more important things to do. Now, personally, I'm of the belief that both could certainly be true until the laws have been, fixed. You shouldn't let people do things illegally. You should probably stop them, but we do need to review the laws. So for now, because we're trying to go for a liberal capitalist society, I'm going to go for let the party go on. At the end of the day, I think a solution of both would have made the most sense. But that's what we're going to have to do. Wow, those people sound so happy in the background. Can you hear them? You probably can, but alright, let's move on. So, a few things that I want to change here as well in Sweden. Let's take a look at some of the things that are driving the GDP right now. Productivity is outrageously low. It is abysmal. This is the worst productivity you could possibly have. People surprisingly have a reasonably good median income, and they're all happy, and poverty is low, but no one's producing anything. It's surprising to me that we do not have the uncompetitive economy event, because I really feel like we ought to. Somehow we don't. Maybe that's been removed in the mod pack. I don't know. Either way, our GDP is suffering substantially. We have to fix our productivity. The problem is, well, there's a lot of different reasons. Wages are surprisingly low. No, I'm sorry. Wages are so high that people don't feel the need to work actually and produce more in order to get a comfortable living. That's the thing. You actually want people to be struggling a little bit with wages to incentivize them to produce more. There's a delicate balance there of having people meet their needs but need a little bit more so that they work more. That's the idea anyway. Now, some of the problems due to the wages and stuff, though, I think will have a lot to do with the fact that we have a high trade unionist membership. In fact, if we go to the doctor strike, we can see that the trade unionist percentage is the only thing really driving this, and this is killing our health right now. We have to reduce trade unionist membership. Now, something cool in this mod pack is it actually sort of automatically starts resolving itself by reducing trade unionist membership over time. The longer the doctor strike seems to go on, the more people have to eventually give up on the strike and go back to work, and they abandon the union. Over time, I found that the trade unionist membership can just go completely down to like 80 or so percent, minus 80%, and it eventually resolves itself, but you of course have to take a year in the meantime, and as soon as it goes away, it can come right back. We're going to have to reduce trade unionist membership because right now we have 54.6%, and that's not going to go very well with my particular capitalist playthrough here. If we look here on membership, one of the reasons that it is so bad apparently is because of the Swedish culture. I don't know, apparently the Swedes just really like being a part of unions. So there you go. We're going to have to fix that, aren't we? And if we look at the labor work laws, which are here, we are very pro-union right now. That is killing our productivity. Well, okay, it's not killing it, it still exists, but if we had less, we would be a more productive society. But we do have a very small, short working week, which is not helping. Socialism membership, I want to get rid of. Trade unionist membership, I want to get rid of. And wages are, believe it or not, too high. So I'm actually going to have to try and get rid of this a little bit. This is also contributing to the labor shortage. So if I can at least reduce this down to, let's say, a more balanced stance. Right here. Not inherently pro-business, but not inherently pro-union either. We're trying to foster a culture of voluntary transactions and business deals and employment deals. That's what we're going to try to do. I'm not going pro-business, but I'm not going to be pro-union anymore. We're going to go down to, let's say, about 470 million kronas per quarter, a nice balanced policy. This will do a lot to try and reduce the doctor strike even further and fix some of the problems that we're having with the labor shortage, while at the same time eliminating the socialist and trade unionist membership. Very good for us right now. Actually, I would say absolutely critical. You want the working week to go up, you want productivity to go up, you actually want wages to go down, and it fixes a lot of negative events. So we're going to have to spend most of our capital doing that, but that should certainly help. Pretty cool so far, right? I think so. We're also going to invest a little bit more in capitalist forms of education. I want to max out education so I can get better technology and start improving things like the Rust Belt and stuff like that. So where are my schools? Is this education? Food prices? No. Private healthcare. Education. Where's private? University grants, technology colleges. Private schools? Aha! We do have school vouchers. Okay, I saw that in the description for Sweden. I assumed we had the policy already, but there it is. School vouchers. A measure designed to encourage the growth of private schooling while enabling everyone to afford an education. So instead of spending government money on everyone having to go to a public school, you can instead say, here's the same amount of money, you pick what school you want to go to. It could be a public school, it could be a private school, a charter school, whatever you want, you, the parents, have control, and that makes the market more competitive as a result. Educational facilities are now going to be competing with each other trying to win your government voucher. So it ends up being about the same amount of government money spent, and in theory, reduces costs and improves quality. In theory. I actually don't know of any countries that have really worked much on the school voucher system, but as a free market capitalist myself, I've always thought that it's a really interesting idea. I would like to see it in practice and see what happens. In this particular game, though, it's going to work out really well for us. By spending this money, we are going to be greatly funding the private schools so they can pay their teachers better. Poor earnings go up because they don't have to spend any of their money on private schools. Equality goes up, and socialism membership goes down. And if you don't remember, reducing socialism membership is the same as increasing capitalism membership, and vice versa. So we're going to try to do a lot of that. Alright, that's all the capital we have for this particular turn. I know I'm talking fast, but I don't want this video to become too long, so there we go. Oh no! We have 2 new events that have started. Okay, this is some of the mistakes that I'm talking about that I wanted to learn about, so let's see what happens. We have corruption. Low wages, public ignorance, and a lack of political responsibility have made local politicians and civil servants more reliant on bribery and nepotism than the rule of law. So there's a lot of different ways to try and combat that. It actually tells you ahead of time. Laws against corporatism, a civil service commission, jury trials, etc. Things to try and reduce corruption would be kind of good. It's not very high. It's mostly just upsetting the socialists, and apparently it's affecting our trustworthy stat, whatever that is. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We also have farmer protests, which went up and apparently are immediately going back down. Okay, farmers are weary at high taxes, complex regulation, and insufficient subsidies. As they park their tractors and trailers across highways and dump crops on the ground, traffic is blocked. There we go. Different ways to try and reduce this. Better education, reducing better police force, etc. Interesting. If farmers don't like you, they just start screwing with your traffic, which probably causes a lot more deaths. Interesting. Intrusive fishing boats. Foreign trawlers are catching tons of fish off our coast, just outside territorial waters, in spite of our diplomatic complaints. Environmentalists and fishermen rarely agree with each other, but they have made a joint declaration that these vessels are a threat to the fisheries and demand us to take actions. We can board the pirates. Apparently, they pirate the sea's fish, and will push our country towards starvation, let us rescue what is left, battle stations, or propose a fishing treaty. We do not want to fight a war over something as silly as fish. We need good relations with our neighbors. Our fishermen will need to lay their nets somewhere else. Ooh, I have no idea what this does. I'm guessing this has a lot to do with foreign relations, and this has a lot to do with patriotism, but there's probably going to be an economic impact as well. Let's try to be diplomatic here. We're going to propose a fishing treaty. I'd like to think that we could rely on the European Union's regulations on this a little bit more, but maybe not. Let's find out. We'll move on and see what happens. Again, playing a little bit on easier mode, I want to know what's going to happen. Look at all the negative events we've got right now. Holy crap. So, corruption. It's impacting something called trustworthy. Oh, I'm sorry. Trustworthy is part of the electioneering. Right, I forgot about that. We're seen as very compassionate, but we're not very trustworthy because we are corrupt. Got it. Well, there's a few things we could try to do to fix that. Let's go to, let's say, jury trials and max this out. Now, this really upsets the state employees, but that's fine. We're reducing their corruption. Those who have nothing to hide shouldn't be worried about a jury with their peers, right? I don't think so. This apparently increases crime, which I don't think I really understand. It makes liberals very happy, though. Let's see. It's entirely possible. Conservatives argue that a process is expensive, time-wasting. I have no idea why this increases crime. I don't feel like it ought to. But apparently a jury of your peers makes things worse? Interesting. I think we can find other ways to tackle crime, though. I know I'm going to set the state employees, but let's really try to stamp down on corruption. We're going to become an increasingly transparent government. Alright? That's what we're going to go for. Now, a few more things that we could do. I want to stomp down on poverty a little bit more. We know that food stamps usually works quite well. It's very cheap for us. Let's do that. Reduces poverty quite a bit, improves health, makes the poor better, makes farmers happy, equality goes up, we are more compassionate, and apparently conservatives like this. Why? I don't know. I think this got added in the mod pack. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. But apparently conservatives like the idea of having food stamps, so there you go. Let's also invest a little bit more in our scientific and technological situation. If I go to technology grants, we can spend another 10 billion kronas here and try to really boost up our technology. Now here's something really interesting. You can see that no matter what I do, religious membership and GDP are no longer impacted. They were in the base game, but apparently in this mod pack, technology grants does not inherently mean that your religious membership goes down, nor is it an automatic boost to your GDP. Instead, it boosts your productivity and technology, right? Productivity and technology, however, will lead to, let's say, the computer industry. The more technology we have, the better the computer industry will do, and the better the GDP will do as a result. So it does affect the GDP, but there's a couple extra sectors. You can see where it's affecting specific industries as opposed to just a flat buff. The economy is far more complicated in this mod pack, which is pretty cool. Let's save up the rest of our political capital. Oh, there we go. Farmer protests and antisocial behavior are gone. That helps. Let's go ahead and pass one more policy. I want to do the rural development grants if I can find them. Economy? Rural development grants. Where are you? I know you're here somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's right up here at the top. Never mind. Okay. So, I like the idea of doing rural development grants here because we know from the base game that it's really good at boosting the economy. How does it work in this mod pack? Let's find out. Poor earnings go up, unemployment goes down, equality goes up, farmers are thrilled, and there are more of them, which means we're farming more of the land, which means we are using up more water, which could cause environmental issues later, but for now, let's take the risk. It also reduces the Rust Belt event. So instead of everyone urbanizing and going to a more technological urban cities, we are trying to decentralize the cities and the population a little bit more and move toward manufacturing jobs and stuff in the rural areas. So that's what we're going to do. It also, however, greatly increases car usage because more people out in the countryside will be using the roads, will be using their cars. So that could come back to bite us a little bit more when it comes to the road accidents. But fortunately, these are already going down a lot thanks to the street lighting and increased police force. There's some more things we can do. Speed cameras would probably help, but we'll have to deal with that another time. This video is already almost 30 minutes long, but I had to go fast, I'm sorry, but I needed to show you guys as much as I can before we move on. I will be playing this series 1 year at a time in every video, as I always do, which means some videos will be short, some will be long. We'll talk about a lot of different stuff. I'm very eager to see what some of your comments and suggestions are. Some of you might be more familiar with this mod pack than I am and have some ideas as to what we can do for Sweden. Let me know down below. Otherwise, let me know what kind of stuff you'd like to see, and I will try to address as much as I can in future videos. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you enjoyed and you are excited about this series. If so, then be sure to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. And I, as always, will see you guys next time.